This episode of the Cinema Psycho Show is brought to you by the Silkscreen Arts Organization, which has been building bridges between East and West since 2005. Silkscreen's annual festival is taking place this month in Pittsburgh from September 22nd through the 30th. The festival features over 25 new films from India, China, Japan, Turkey, and many other countries. For the festival schedule and more information, visit www.silkscreenfestival.org or follow them on Twitter and Instagram at SilkscreenPGH. The first 5 listeners from this podcast to follow Silkscreen will receive 2 free tickets for a screening at the festival. Again, follow the Silkscreen Film Festival at Twitter and Instagram at SilkscreenPGH.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show at the Madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Coddington, joined by my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Lane Woolscroft.
Now we switch over to the John Woolscroft Lounge, featuring Lane and Brian. How are you guys doing tonight?
Feeling so sexy.
Ooh, yeah.
The lounge is
Now,
sexy.
Enjoy a bunch of hits from Chuck Mangione. Oh, I think I just said his name wrong.
Wow.
Actually, no, we're here to talk about puppets.
Yeah, we're on episode 112, and important thing to note about episode 112 is that we're back to weekly, folks.
Yeah.
We're back in
Did you miss us? We're
weekly.
back. I wonder
Back
what
to
the
weekly.
teacher will look like this year.
And to kick off us going back to weekly, we're going to review one movie that honestly, I watched it and said, what the fuck? And there's not a whole lot of movies that I watch on this show that I say, what the fuck? I mean,
That's not true. John shows you one at least every month that you're like,
no,
what the fuck?
no, but okay, the last time that I really said, what the fuck, was with Tiptoes.
I knew you were going to say Tiptoes.
That was the last time. So
I
this
knew
one,
it.
this one was one of those
Does
where I
this
was just,
baffle you?
it baffled me in its execution.
I was
It
gonna
sounds
say,
like he's upset.
now,
He sounds upset.
I am upset.
I don't want to make clear that Brian's not speaking for all of us, but in a bizarre way, he kind of is. Like, spoiler alert, none of us really like this movie all that much. But I don't think I disliked it as much as Brian.
Apparently,
I
a
don't
lot of
think
people.
anyone disliked it as much as Brian.
21% on Rotten Tomatoes. And we're, of course, talking about the Happy Time Murders.
Yeah.
What happens when you mix puppets and people and make them raunchy?
For no reason.
For no reason. So we're going to be reviewing that. But before we get to that, John, you got a little bit of Oscar news.
Yes. And then I know what you're thinking. Goddamn, son. It's not even the fall yet. There hasn't been a decent movie out yet.
Right, I haven't had pumpkin spiced anything yet, and you're talking about the Oscars over
That's
here.
true.
Would you like-
Where's my pumpkin spice
Chicken nuggets?
Well, I was gonna say, ball deodorant, but I mean,
No, guys.
chicken
like,
nuggets. Okay,
real talk, though, they made pumpkin spice whipped cream that's going to be available at Whole Foods, and I don't shop at Whole Foods, but I will go get that fucking whipped cream.
Guys,
Really?
You can't, Brian, you cannot wear pumpkin spice on your body because 30-some-year-old nerd women will just like jump your bones and you're married.
Number one,
true,
fuck
I
you.
am.
Number two, double fuck you. Number 3, let people like things.
let people like things.
Yeah, Hocus Pocus sucks.
Oh,
Bring it.
oh
You
shit!
can fight him. He would love nothing more than to fight everybody on that.
They said, that movie was almost rushed to VHS tape and we put it in theaters. You should have rushed it to VHS tape because it's garbage.
It's a classic.
Anyways, what were we talking about?
Oscar news for Black Panther.
Yeah. So, yeah, I
You're the
know
worst.
a little early on the news, but it has come out that the creators of Black Panther are pushing
Well,
for...
I don't know that that's fair.
Okay.
Marvel is behind this. It didn't say anything about the filmmaker.
Right, well,
creators
let's
being
say
Marvel.
Let's say Disney.
Okay, but
I want creators, I guess I meant studio.
it's
the hires.
Marvel.
Yeah,
Marvel is owned by Disney.
Right.
They basically, bend over, You know.
It's true. But yeah, I mean, I just don't want to loop anybody in this.
Okay.
It's not in this. Not that it's
But
controversial, but
People
still.
are pushing for Black Panther to be nominated for Best Picture of the Year, which makes sense. Why wouldn't you push for any movie that you have that could be considered? But something that's unique about this is the first year, and I don't know if we talked about this on the show
We
yet,
didn't.
that the
no,
super
not
duper
yet.
awesome explodey fan favorite #1 category has finally been introduced this year. And outside of all my sarcasm, what I mean is most popular film of the year. That at the Oscars, and I say this year, 2019, I believe in March, possibly April, doesn't matter. They are doing a category for most popular film because the ratings are down, because the movies that get nominated for Best Picture of the Year, nobody sees. You know, like, I want a movie where the guy had the claws for hands and fought the other guy on the mountain, and I want the purple guy who fought Iron Man to be nominated for Best Picture, so I'll watch, you know.
Hey, Black Panther was really good.
It was a good movie. No, we'll dive into that. I don't want to, but yeah, just they want to make sure, because I don't think I'm taking a bold leap here. Black Panther would just walk away with the most popular Oscar, and I think that's why they're fighting to get out of that. That nobody takes it seriously.
So doesn't making that category, basically it's a almost like a doomed category, because it's not really like, it's like we're throwing you a bone.
I think it's going to be
like a conciliatory category.
They'll do it this year. Well, I keep saying that, 2019, and they'll probably try it one more time in 2020, and then it'll fizzle out, and that'll be that. Hey guys, remember when the Oscars tried to do the most popular movie? And remember how stupid that was?
Well,
you know.
Sorry, Jesus. The thing that I think that's really driving this, though, is that they're doing it so people not only go to the movies more to boost this category, but like, if you guys have done any reading on the Oscars, I know we talk about it every year, but like, viewership is way fucking down, and old Hollywood is freaking out. Like, all these old white dudes are tearing their hair out because they're like, why isn't everything like it used to be? You know, because people aren't watching it as much anymore. It's just,
it's because people are stupid, though. Everybody saw The Godfather. Nobody saw, you know, the Shape of Water. Well, maybe The Shape of Water actually was pretty popular.
To be fair, think about.
But I'm saying,
think about the caliber of entertainment that you had back then.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, and when The Godfather came out, okay, and what was it, 72? 72. Okay. Did they have television to the caliber that we have now?
They had All in the Family, and
they had All in the Family. They had sitcoms. Okay. And honestly, if you were looking for something that was a bit more denser, that it was a bit more of that spectacle entertainment, it was with film. So yeah, it makes sense that everybody saw The Godfather, because that's all you had, is either that or All in the Family. So what do you have now? Now, if I want something of more caliber, honestly, I'm not really watching a movie. I'm watching TV. I'm watching like Amazon Prime originals or Netflix ones.
Brian, we do a movie podcast.
I understand. Hey,
listen, if you guys want to start a like streaming show podcast, I'm in.
I think it's important to bring that up, though.
But I'd like to just say really quick.
Yes.
My original point was that viewership of the Oscars broadcast is down. That's what I think they're trying to do. They're trying to get viewership for the show itself,
right,
for people to tune in and see if the film that they saw or whatever is the one that got picked.
Why don't they just wheel out Billy Crystal?
Yeah, well, he is good for ratings, but no, the ratings are down because people don't want to watch a broadcast of movies they didn't see, because they don't want to go see those artsy movies about gay cowboys.
And
they want to see explosions.
To Brian's point, there's better programming on a Sunday night that you can dictate yourself. You can watch something on Netflix. You can watch something on Amazon. You know, I think people are getting away from watching it live too, because you can just see the best bits the next day on the internet. You know, if somebody wore something amazing, or if somebody flubbed someone else's name, you know, these are very viral moments that you can just watch, you know, the performances of the music or whatever. Like, you can take it in snippets, and a lot of people aren't tuning into the whole broadcast. I mean, that's what I think, that they're not tuning into the whole broadcast because there's really no need to.
How long is the broadcast for the Oscars?
Well, they always joke
days.
About that. Like,
8 days long.
It usually is around like 3 hours, 3 hours, 15 minutes, but depends on who the host is. Like, it can go longer.
Yeah.
And I do say that with love, because I mean, you know, I like to pour myself like a nice little glass of wine and have some like charcuterie, you know, and like make a day of it. I like looking at, you know, the
Lane, we've already
carpet,
outed ourselves in this show. We get blasted.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I get real drunk and watch it. But you know, like I like
I think that's the only way I'd be able to watch it.
I like it because of the ceremony of it, and it's like an excuse for me to, you know, just like slow down and just like watch a bunch of fucking dresses.
Right.
Well, and the thing is, I've looked at the ratings, and they kind of they flow. Like, it's not like they've just taken a nosedive. Yeah, last year's ratings were down, but this year's could be up a little bit. So I don't know why they're trying to go to a drastic extreme, like, but it's proof that this is just a pageantry show, right? Like, this is not about the art.
I mean, last year's ratings were really bad, though.
Yeah. Well, nobody saw the fish fucking movie, you know. It was really good, though.
So
you should
harsh.
see the fish fucking movie. It was very good.
Always see the fish fucking movie.
No, don't worry. The fish was man-like, so
The fish was man-like.
Listen,
So that means he had a penis.
listen,
is what
I'm,
you're saying.
I'm down with any kind of fucking as long as it's the consensual
well, the thing is,
kind.
I was confused in the movie because I was like, you don't see his dick, but then her friend's like, does it retract? And she's like, because she's deaf, so she's shaking her head yes. And so like, so that's how they wrote themselves out of him having a giant fish dog.
Okay, so can we?
Yeah.
Can we have like
What are we
one
talking
episode
about?
where we
You're
don't
talking
talk
about
about dick?
Black Panther.
Oh,
Dear
yeah.
God.
So-
well, no, I'd like to say just really quick something
Yeah.
notable about this whole thing with, Marvel really trying to woo Oscardom. And you're right. I mean, it's Disney, but Disney has hired a veteran Oscar strategist, Cynthia Swartz. I'm not sure how you say it. I want to say Schwartz, but there's no CH in it. It's Swartz. Cynthia Swartz. But she wants to lead a Best Picture campaign backed by a lot of funding from Marvel, because that's what we should spend money on, guys. Let's spend lots of money on some stupid award that no one cares about.
Every movie that gets nominated spends that money.
Yeah, I mean,
Marvel cares about it.
but it's so dumb. Like, I don't know. I don't mean to be like social justice warrior, but like, can we just have clean water in Flint? Can you guys like fuck off with this stupid Oscar money shit?
Here's the thing. Marvel is looking at it as a gateway into the quote-unquote high art film. Okay? They've done well with the blockbuster, and they basically have a beat on that. But it's almost like, once you're here, where do you go? And they're at that point where I think they want to try and be in that quote-unquote high art thing. Kind of like how graphic novels like Watchmen are in that quote-unquote high art area of comic books. That's what they're trying to do.
I guess. I mean, I think it's
also petty.
I think it's just kind of pointless. I don't know.
Well, it is.
It's petty. I mean, think about the people talk about The Dark Knight or Spider-Man 2 or Logan. They don't own any of those when they talk about movies.
That's
That,
true.
those are the ones that should have been nominated. Yeah, those are not under Disney, Marvel's umbrella, so they're probably just like
There's a reason why Heath Ledger won The Dark Knight.
Yeah, he died.
Okay, well, he died, and come on, his
So
performance
hateful.
was really good.
So hateful.
Yeah, I would like to see if he won if he was alive. But anyway, but no. So I feel kind of hypocritical about this. I know we're running long on this, but to get to the point of whether it should be nominated or not, and I kind of work out these conversations in my head because I drive a lot all day before we do the show, and I realize that I'm a giant hypocrite, and I'll explain why. I can't get past the fact that this is a giant special effects ridden movie about a bunch of people riding like rhinos and kicking each other, and it's a goofy comic book movie. It's one of the best goofy comic book
But it was
movies.
about a little bit more. I mean,
It had more depth.
I don't
to
know
it.
too many goofy comic book movies that start, during the LA riots.
Well, yeah.
Or do kind of have a message about racism.
Well, The Dark Knight had a lot going about it too, but at the end of the day, that's a movie about a guy in a bad outfit fighting a clown. I don't think that should have been nominated for Best Picture either.
Right.
do.
Well, that's
But
your private opinion. I mean,
I do.
But here's where I'm a complete hypocrite. I do believe in 1977 that Star Wars should have won Best Picture of the Year, and that is a by the numbers hero's tale of a space opera for babies.
right.
So it's no different than a Marvel movie. So I don't know where I get off.
Right. And I'm familiar with your opinion because you tried to loop me into this conversation last night at 11:58 p.m. I literally told him 3 times, like, fuck, we're recording tomorrow. Please leave me alone.
I'm glad that you guys are up at 11:58 p.m. and concerned about the podcast.
Oh, yeah. No, he literally started this conversation with me last night. And I was like, dude, no, like, I want to go to bed more than anything on this earth. But I mean, and as I shared with John last night, my feelings on Star Wars, number 1 is my favorite movie. So of course I would agree, but I think what Star Wars meant for the filmmaking industry with the groundbreaking special effects, like that was the movie that broke a lot of those things, right? Like that was the movie that created fucking industrial light and magic. Like they've been an industry standard in effects ever since 77. So I think that you can't really call it apples to apples with this and Black Panther, though I think that Black Panther maybe deserves to be nominated for its own reasons.
Plus, I mean, let's be honest here, okay? In 1977, there really was only one movie that was so crazy that it everybody went and saw it, and they
The
saw
Goodbye Girl.
No, I'm talking about Star Wars. I'm just saying, like, there is no way that you could ignore Star Wars. It was such a phenomenon that it literally took over the entire year. Okay? So when it came time for award season, of course Star Wars is going to get nominated. Because if you didn't, people would be like, what the fuck? Why wasn't that movie nominated? Okay? It's honestly the same sort of thing when Batman came out. The first Batman in 89, that movie took over the entire year, even though you had other movies that came out that maybe were of equal footing, but not quite. However, Batman wasn't nominated. Well, no. it did get, it did. It won for art direction. For art direction.
Set design. Guys, we could do a whole episode on the summer of 89. You know how many movies came out that year?
So many.
UHF came out in 89.
Yes.
But
of all the movies.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, for me, I like Black Panther. I thought it was probably one of the better Marvel films because it was a bit deeper.
Yeah, it's my
favorite. And it was also, one of the rare times where I'm saying the villain's not wrong. He's not mustache twirling.
He's nuanced.
He has, there are times when you're just like, well, I think he's probably right. And we don't really get that sort of depth from Marvel films. Mm-hmm. I mean, Thanos is probably the only other one I could think of where he does have a little bit of that.
But Loki's cute.
Well, I like Loki, but I'm just saying, like, Thanos and, the hell was his name? In Black Panther.
The villain?
The villain. Killmonger, yeah. Those two villains have more depth to them than other villains in the Marvel Universe that we've seen up to date. So I can see where they say, hey, maybe this is an Oscar-worthy film. I don't know if it is, though. I mean, it didn't really cause the type of, fanfare that you saw in 1989 and in 1977.
Right. Well, I mean,
it did a little, not in, like, I'd say our neighborhoods, if you know what I mean. It meant a lot in the African American community.
Well, of course, as it should, and I mean, it was
so
nice
basically
to see that
Oscars
too. But
trying to placate to that instead of.
I don't think that's what the issue is here. I mean, it's funny because I think it's bullshit that Marvel is going after the Oscars and is spending all this money on it, but at the same time, like, I think Black Panther on its own merit, like, deserves to be considered, and I think it will be absolutely for certain categories that you would expect for this kind of movie. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Best Art Direction nomination, definitely Best Costume. I have a feeling that that's in the bag.
Yeah.
And then maybe sound mixing or sound editing. I mean, depends on like what war movies come out. Though. I don't either. They didn't do anything new.
I don't think.
But I think sound mixing or sound editing possibly.
It'll go up against itself.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. But yeah. But unless a really great war movie comes out or something in the meantime. But yeah, I mean, like, I think it deserves it. And too, I mean, I thought it had some pretty good performances. I thought Chadwick Boseman was really good. I thought he gave a solid performance. And like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't deserve a Best Picture nomination, because sometimes I think when that kind of movie is done really well, like, why not? They don't always have to be serious or crazy.
I guess I'm just a snob at this table. I mean, I don't mean to sound bougie, but it's lower. Not just this, but any one of these kind of movies. It's lower art.
You know what you're sounding like right now,
Debbie?
Film twat.
A film twat. Film twat.
Well, listen, John. I mean, no matter what way you cut this, like, it's a crapshoot in the Oscars, right? Because you said that, like, Star Wars deserved to win in 1977, but it lost to
Annie
boxing.
Hall.
I thought it lost to Rocky.
Annie Hall. No, that's 76.
76.
Yep.
Okay,
lost to
then.
Annie Hall.
So I mean, it lost to a movie about a man baby, I guess.
Sorry, I just completely derailed your whole point.
This woman's gonna come and fix me.
They don't make it though.
I know, and that's why it doesn't work. And I mean, just like you could argue that Annie Hall is just as trivial. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't like Woody Allen, so I'm not.
I think it has a little more to say about the human experience than trying to blow up a giant space laser.
I mean, I guess.
And this is coming from a guy who loves Star Wars.
But again, I think if you're looking at the art of filmmaking itself, I don't think that Woody Allen had anything really that new to say in Annie Hall. But like I said, I think that the backing of ILM's creation and just the things visually that they did for this art form, I mean, I think that that's like the big one.
And just to kind of wrap it up, I what makes me afraid about this kind of thing is that this is what invited District 9 to be nominated for Best Picture of the Year.
I like District 9.
It's not Best Picture of the Year.
But what do you mean?
It just when junk movies, when
District 9 isn't a junk movie.
well, okay, we'll fight about it later.
But like too, what I don't like is just
It shouldn't have been nominated for Best Picture. I had a good time at that movie too, but shouldn't have been nominated for Best Picture.
But what else is concerning about this is it just brings to light the fact that the Oscars are all about politicking. It's all about, that art form rather than it happening organically and movies winning that deserve to. So I don't know.
And this
I'm
ultimately, folks, is why I do not like the Oscars. I've said this multiple times.
That's fine.
Why I'm not a fan of it.
You don't like the Oscars?
No, I don't.
How do you feel about Tom Savini? What about Roger Ebert?
Listen, I can
Really? We're doing that again?
I can drink the entire
Every
bottle of wine
fucking
myself.
episode.
You don't have to come over for the Oscars. It's okay.
And if you guys are playing the Cinema Psycho Show drinking game, Burke did it. There, you just got bingo.
You're reaching back on that
I
one.
would never be
Reaching
so
back.
happy as I would if there's actually a drinking game about us.
Wait.
That'd be amazing.
Sorry, so somebody else can win. Fassbender's penis.
Giant ding dong.
Film twat.
There you go.
Yeah, film twat. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All
okay.
y'all should be super drunk now.
So, speaking of being super drunk, if you're gonna go out and watch a movie like the Happy Time Murders, be real fucking drunk. I think that's the only way you can really enjoy it.
Remember how they
Is that a transition? Did I do that one?
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
You got it. You got the transition this
guys,
time.
remember how they have organs but they don't have bones, and then when they get shot, they're only stuffing?
Remember, there's no blood, but there's a liver.
Remember when the name Henson was associated with quality and not shit?
Let's talk about that. Let's start there. So this movie is directed by Jimmy Henson's baby boy,
Brian Henson.
Brian Henson.
Yeah.
And something to take note here. One of the last projects that Jim Henson worked on before he died was the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, which I have 2 VHS copies of right over here.
Yep.
He was upset over the violence of that film, which, it was cartoonish at best. I was 5.
I mean, it was
my
pretty,
parents weren't
it was
upset.
pretty dark
Yeah.
for a kid's movie.
But I don't think he was upset about the tone. I think they have swords and they're kicking people, and it's just so funny to me to think that upset him if he could have seen what his kid's doing now. But
Yeah.
an important note too, he and I believe his sister sold off all of their rights to Sesame Street and the Muppets to Disney. Well, Sesame Street's not owned by Disney, but the Muppets to Disney. So they're kind of having to create fresh ideas now.
Well, this is okay. Well, this is basically it's an offshoot of the Jim Henson Company.
Yeah.
So this is the first film to mark the debut of Henson Alternative,
Decade
which
in the
is
making.
yeah, which is apparently their offshoot that specializes in adult content. Which this is very much so.
Which is anybody really craving for that?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. When I saw this movie, I really thought it was maybe about a decade and a half late. Okay.
Well, they first started kicking this out around in 2008. So
Well, okay, that makes sense.
That's when
then.
it should have come out. Yeah.
But like I remember the show Crank Yankers on Comedy Central. Do you remember that
Oh,
show?
dude, yes.
Okay, so that show was absolutely what this movie should have been. Okay, that show was hilarious. Okay, but how old is that show? That show is a decade and a half old.
no, it was like 2004.
Yeah,
or so.
that's what I'm
Get
saying.
out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Around there.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that was a adult show in which you had puppets that were doing adult things, and they didn't have humans in it. But I mean, the concept is basically the same. You're taking innocent things that you're associating with, in this case, puppets, and putting them in adult situations. It worked fine for that show, but it's like you were late on that, because if you had done it then, it probably would have been fine. Although I will say, the script for this is just fucking god awful.
Well, before
I was never the last time I was this angry was with Tiptoes.
Well, before we jump into some of the finer details, I always like to just imagine what the pitch room would be, and it's naughty Roger Rabbit, right? That's how they imagine Roger Rabbit.
Naughty
with
and
dick jokes.
pointless Roger
I
Rabbit.
kind of said it was like Lethal Weapon, but with puppets.
The Muppet Show meets Chinatown.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
That's hard though, because
That's what she said.
because you just named two good things to describe this not very.
You're not
going to
go in and be like, Tiptoes meets the room.
But
like,
here's the thing though. If you look at the reviews of this movie, if you go into Rotten Tomatoes, which by the way, 21%, if you look at the reviews, a lot of them say that the biggest problem with this movie is that it wasted a concept that could have worked. The concept of humans and puppets living together and encountering situations that were adult in nature.
Yeah.
That's not a bad concept. I don't think it's a bad concept. I think just the execution of this is the problem.
Well, I think the biggest problem is that this movie is, no surprise from the trailers, is extremely vulgar. It's relentless. It's in your face. It's profane. It's scatological humor, dick humor, which
jizz humor.
Yeah,
a lot of jizz humor.
Fluid.
I have Elaine. Say that one more time for ASMR reasons.
Fluid.
Which I have obviously no problem with, but it has to have a context and a purpose. I look at another puppet movie, Team America: World Police.
Oh yeah,
and that movie was a send up on Jerry Bruckheimer, Michael Bay movies, and how they always have the gratuitous sex scene in the movie. And I thought, well, what if we satirize that by having it be puppets, and it looks hysterically funny because it's so stupid. There was a reason for the gratuitous sex scene in Team America. In this movie, it's just puppets are fucking.
Exactly, and two, I think that to decide to do puppets in the first place is a question that somebody should have asked themselves with this movie. But to your point, John, with Team America, the hilarity in them being puppets is it's supposed to be this gritty, hyper real action movie, that was really popular at the time. And another instance that's really funny is when the two puppets are engaging in the kung fu quick fighting style. It's just little puppets on their goddamn tiptoes, and it's hysterical because it's so stupid. The juxtaposition, it's what's funny of the very serious shit kicking subject matter, and they're like dolls.
I think the other thing too is with Team America, it's a parody about a time in our history. It's a parody about the terrorism scare, of post 9/11.
Sure.
Okay. So that's what it's making fun of. And you can relate to, be like, oh yeah, that's kind of funny because that sort of shit is at that time.
Well, it had
we
a
were dealing
reference
with.
point.
Yeah. This is really just this movie. I mean, I was seeing jokes that were said by 12-year-olds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, there is a joke that I've heard 12-year-olds say in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yes. That one.
Absolutely.
They do it multiple fucking times.
Well, they just arbitrarily decided we're just going to make this. And I mean, I don't know. And to that point, I mean, I thought that the puppet work was fine,
Puppet work was
well,
great.
It's a Henson
they
company,
did some
so
really
of course
cool
it's going to be
stuff
fun.
with it,
Guys, I don't mean to be weird here. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. I hate it when I see a full body puppet walking around.
Oh,
it freaks me out, and I don't like it
because you're expecting to account for whoever's
the whole thing about
moving
puppets, what I
them.
think is so neat, is that the way that they'll film it or block it,
Right,
to
to,
hide the
block that,
puppeteers.
yeah.
So when you see and they showed at the end credits guys in green leotards behind our main character whose name I forget. I call him Mr. Blue.
Phil Phillips.
Phil Phillips, yeah. How could I forget that? But he's walking into.
I love that alliteration.
Yeah, he's walking into the room and he's just because they keyed out the guy who was wearing the green leotard behind him in post-production, and it's so fucking weird to see just a puppet walking around. Because I remember the Muppets rode bicycles in the late 70s.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's so fucking weird. I don't like seeing Kermit's legs.
I didn't have a problem
I like
with
Kermit's
that.
little feet though. I like his little feet when
I
he's
never
on
have a problem
the
with
log,
I just had a problem with everything else. That was the least of my issues.
I only had
I know, it's something minor. But
I only had a problem with a single thing: the script. That was, I mean, just it was badly written. I would have had no problem with ooh, they're gross, edgy puppets. That would have been fine. And when I saw that this was coming out, I was excited. I was ooh, I was this is going to be kind of raunchy and kind of for terrible people. Yay.
So
the song of my country.
Let's dive into the shitburger and kind of give a analysis of the plot here.
Yeah, I feel we're all ranting a little bit.
We're all ranting.
Maybe.
Step back.
So the film starts off where we're introduced to a world in which puppets and humans coexist, but the problem is that humans kind of look down on the puppets.
There's no longer any racism or
No.
anything or classism because everybody just hates puppets.
That's right. And the puppets apparently exist solely on sugar.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
that's their drugs, right? Do they only
Oh,
eat it
they
too?
that's all they eat.
Yeah.
Is sugar. That's it. Sucralose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, just right off the bat here, I didn't like that we did not get proper context of these
No.
puppets.
It was just thrown right
Were
into
they
it.
made like almost like Pinocchio, and then they kind
Are
of
they
came
born?
alive?
I wondered that too.
Were they? Yeah, well, they are born, I think, because they ejaculate, so they must make babies, and they have organs. So, but were they always here? Where did the
They
puppets
didn't. They never
come
said.
from?
Never
Yeah.
said anything.
And,
It's
yeah.
it's expected.
How long have they been around? Because they talk about a 90s sitcom, and we'll get to that. But I wanted a little more background. And the people always say, oh, the kiss of death is narration. It's just not cheap filmmaking, cheap screenwriting. But this was a noir, and we only got that narration at the beginning
I'm
of the movie.
sorry.
And never
I'm
again.
sorry. The fact that you referred to this movie as a noir makes
Well,
me
that's what they were trying
Puppet
to go
noir,
for, but
a
then
Pinot
they
noir.
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir. There was Pinot fluid. Sorry. Yes.
Maya wrote off how to cleaning tools.
They started it with a noir, but the fact that they didn't come back to it also just it was just sloppy filmmaking to me. Yeah. The fact that it
sloppy
was just never so much fun.
Yeah, so Phil Phillips gets on a big case of
Well, he's a
Private eye.
Yeah.
He's a former LAPD officer.
Now he's a
the
private
first and
dick.
only
He's the
puppet
first
cop.
and only puppet cop.
But then his partner Melissa
He's
McCarthy
disgraced.
gets him kicked off the
He's
force.
disgraced because he accidentally misses a shot, but kills another puppet. And they say, "Oh, puppets don't shoot their own kind."
Yeah.
You know,
Unless
'cause-
it's accidentally.
Unless it's
apparently.
accidentally.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't make sense either.
so he's working as a private detective. He's kind of a drunk, and he's got a human secretary named Bubbles, who's played by Maya Rudolph.
Which she was one of the saving graces. of this movie, 'cause
That's
she's
a lot of
lovely.
reviews have said, is that she's like the only positive thing.
Well, she could have been so over the toply stupid with a name like Bubbles, but she decided to wrangle it in,
Yeah.
thankfully.
Yeah. So that we're introduced to the fact that he's a private detective, and he's working on a case by I guess the sexy puppet, whose name is Sandra.
This is the classic noir thing.
Yes.
The sexy woman comes into his office. She was a dame, I could tell, because her legs went all the way to heaven.
Yeah, and I guess she's getting letters to blackmail her because what is she like? Just like to fuck?
Yeah.
Like that's her thing.
Yeah, they never quite explain why she's being blackmailed.
They're just like she likes to have sex.
And it
with
should have been like,
lots of people.
because I have sex with humans. Like, I'm sure that that's incredibly frowned upon, and it's so weird because obviously they're making direct connections. So please don't be offended by it. But I'm sure they're making connections to, until sadly recently, like black and white
Yeah.
people having sex,
Yeah.
so it's like, oh, you're having sex with a puppet. What's wrong with you? They're disgusting, So I would imagine that's what it was, but they don't
That's what I'm
ever
guessing.
really say. It's just an opportunity for her to be and make nympho jokes.
Yeah, basically.
And long story short, it leads to a clue where he finds something that leads into a porno shop, which
Yeah.
the first murder happens.
Well, we get a couple things at that porno shop. Okay,
Brian needs to break this down.
we get literally the first instance of just gratuitous "what the fuck am I watching" moments, and that's where you see a puppet that's jerking off milking a cow puppet.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing, and it's like it's orgasmic, and it's really fucked up. And you find out that inside that porn store is also a former actor from the Happy Time show, which is the Rabbit.
Which I didn't understand because he acts Phil Phillips, who knows him, acts
Bumbly
like
Pants
he
is
doesn't
what
even
his
know
name
him when he
is.
runs into him.
Yeah, his name is Bumbly Pants.
Maybe because the writing was bad.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
these two characters know each other, but he acts like, "Hey, mister, you dropped your pornography," not, "Hey, that's you from the show," because I know because my brother's on it, which we'll get to.
So Phil is going to investigate in the porno store, this note that Sandra gave him. And while this is happening, of course, you get this weird movie that's playing in the background.
I thought that was pretty funny.
A human firefighter getting whipped by a puppet Dalmatian.
Yeah, that was good. I laughed at
See,
that part.
that's what I wanted from this movie. I wanted moments like that, you know?
and while that's happening in the actual store itself, a masked assailant basically kills everyone in the store, including Bumbly Pants the rabbit. And you find out that, I guess, puppets, even though they have organs, their organs are made out of, like, stuffing.
Yeah, I guess maybe they just didn't want puppet blood, because how can they have organs, but they're only stuffing when they're ripped
I would have
apart?
thought it would have been funny is if inside every puppet is just a hand, and when you blow it up, when you shoot it, like, the pieces of a hand are all over the place. Like, that I thought would have been funny.
Well,
you know?
Yeah.
Of all the things to nitpick in this movie, and I know people are going to be like, Jesus, John, what do you care this much? But there's a scene later where Phil Phillips is being beaten up by humans, and he goes, I don't have any bones, so you're like, what you're doing right now is meaningless. The reason we have a skeletal structure is because our organs are very fragile.
Yeah.
They're there to, like, if we fall down, our heart doesn't explode.
Yeah.
So how are these puppets not just dying instantly?
Yeah.
But
so,
anyways,
after Bumbly Pants gets shot and blown up, the LAPD arrive, and we are introduced to Melissa McCarthy, who plays Phillips's old partner. Mm-hmm. And Jesus fucking Christ. I
thought she was a bizarre casting regardless, because she doesn't look like a cop to me.
I didn't, because, well, she's played cops before. She was in The Heat.
Right.
And she was a cop in that movie, and she's played spy. But this is just another example of Melissa McCarthy picking movies that are fucking terrible.
Well,
that's all she's doing is picking terrible movies to be in.
Well, they prettied her up, actually, which is weird because they call her dude like 5 times in the movie. But, like, she doesn't look like... She looked more in, like, The Heat and Bridesmaids, more like a cop or somebody that could hit on what she did in this one. Like, she actually looks kind of pretty in this one. And I'm like, you don't look like a hard-boiled cop to me. I don't know. Lane, is that sexist?
I mean, there's a lot here because, too, I think that her career has been treated differently than that of, like, say, a straight-sized woman. I think that, like, it's always, like, in other movies, she's funny and sloppy because she's not as pretty as those other girls. Like, I mean, she's a pretty lady. Like, the fact that she's a different size than you would expect, I think, kind of plays into this as well. And that's what I didn't like about the "you're a dude" comments, because I just didn't think they were funny. I didn't think they were true because they did doll her up a bit, you know?
Well, if you're fat, male or female in Hollywood, you fall down.
Right.
Yep.
That's
Matt Foley,
pretty
Zach
much it.
Galifianakis, Chris Farley. Yeah, it's across the board.
Now, if you lose all that weight, then you don't fall down anymore.
Right.
They want the one chick from All That whose vagina fell on a man's head.
Lori Beth Denberg.
Yeah. What was that movie where she was the cheerleader and the guy couldn't hold her up? He's like, oh no! And she fell.
Was
vagina.
that Dodgeball?
I
can't remember.
That was that might have been Dodgeball.
Yeah.
I might be a secret genius.
She fell vagina first on my head.
Right. So I mean, like, I think that, like, the intersection of comedy and the idea of her size being, like, something that's been mistreated in the past. There was a lot there, and I didn't like the dude jokes. They just thought they were stupid. I don't know.
But so it leads to, we get introduced to his brother, who is also on this show.
His name's Larry Shenanigans.
Yeah. And something that needs to be mentioned here is that the show that they were on was going into syndication.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to get a big old fat paycheck for the syndication. But everybody that's on the show is getting knocked off. And Phil, our main character, seems to be at the murder or the whereabouts of everybody's murder. So he's
being set up.
Right.
Basically.
And he starts being, the main suspect. And the tricky thing about this movie is that even though it's convoluted, doesn't make any sense, it's very plot oriented. How much detail do we want to go in here, guys?
It was, I think, just kind of given the main nuts and bolts of it. Ultimately, every one of the Happy Time gang gets knocked off, right? I mean, it was one by one they get knocked off.
The entire show.
And Joe McHale comes into this, which I'm just like, why is he in this?
He did pretty good as an FBI guy.
He probably needed a couple bucks.
Yeah, but when was the last time you saw Joe McHale in anything?
He has a show on Netflix that was canceled.
We've met him, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was, like, pretty cool.
Yeah.
He was, like, on, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't very, like... He wasn't... I say, like, he wasn't genuine, not because he was, like, mean or, like, wasn't, like, cool. Yeah. He just was being, like,
just was definitely,
Joe McHale.
He knew he was there to be him.
Yeah.
Poor bastard needs stage makeup, though.
We saw him so long ago that he was hawking Community, which was just about to have its first season.
Wow. But I mean, it was kind of weird seeing him come on there as the quote unquote FBI guy who already doesn't like Phil.
Well, it's a comedy movie, right? So every even the serious roles are going to be played by comedians.
Yeah.
They got Stanley from The Office being like the captain,
The cap.
The cap.
of the police department.
But yeah, so as everyone gets knocked off, and while this is happening, the FBI thinks that Phil is the one responsible, so they lock him up, and then you get basically Bubbles, who believes that Phil's innocent, and teams up with Edwards.
Which is his secretary, his human secretary.
Yes.
I know we already mentioned that, but with a name like Bubbles, it's easy to forget
It is.
that that's a person.
I thought that was super weird too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm Bubbles. Yeah, it's like an old
Yeah.
30s thing, I'm assuming.
So-
I guess.
So, Melissa McCarthy and Bubbles kind of team up, and they discover that the real murderer is Sandra. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's revealed that, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it for you, but you knew what you were getting. It's revealed.
We are very spoilery.
Wait, hold on. 3, 2, don't ever turn us off. 1.
Get out now.
Get out now.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's revealed that Sandra is actually the killer. And what had happened was she was the daughter of the person that
caught the stray bullet.
Phil accidentally shot.
Yeah.
And she's blamed Phil for years and wanted to hurt Phil. So that's why she went after the Happy Time Gang, is because Phil, being the brother of one of the actors, also dating, and this is important to note, dating one of the only human actors, Elizabeth Banks' character.
Yeah.
She wanted to hurt him. So she wanted to kill all those people that he knew. And so
They weren't even
drive him
close
crazy.
to him, except his brother.
Well, but she
Elizabeth
was.
Banks was.
But she was setting him up for it, wasn't
But everybody
she?
else that was...
Yeah.
I thought she was setting him up to seem like the killer.
She
Yeah.
was. But,
that's how she was gonna
But
ruin
all
his
those
life.
people, but all those people knew him.
Right.
So like he had relationships with them.
It was
So-
also for money. Like,
and it was for money too.
It was for money, but it was also revenge. Like, it's so convoluted.
Well, it was for money because, like, at one moment they kill Elizabeth Banks off, and then it's revealed that she's working with Sandra.
Let's explain this real
Yeah,
quick.
let's explain that.
So it's in the contract that there's 10 people, actually, I'm not sure how many people, but it's $10 million. And if somebody dies and they don't have a spouse, not like an next of kin, a spouse, like very specific, then the money will then be split up between the surviving people. So it'll be even more for the surviving people. So that's why everybody keeps getting knocked off and nobody is married because everybody's just kind of a cesspool kind of human being.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And, and then it gets down to just the Sandra, is it?
Sandra's, the
Red-headed puppet. Yeah.
Red-headed puppet.
Yeah, Sandra and not Bubbles, like a puppet name.
Yeah. And Elizabeth Banks, is alive, which in the movie, we see her get into a car and explode. So,
She did.
yeah. I don't know, because, granted, they'll explain away, oh, Phil turned his back and then the car exploded, but did she, run behind some garbage cans and blow it up with a remote?
You see the outline of a person that's on fire.
So I don't know how, your twist doesn't work if you, blow someone's head off in the movie.
Well, honestly, I thought it was very predictable. I mean, the whole movie was pretty much predictable. But, I mean, you then have Sandra betrays Elizabeth Banks. Doesn't she kill her?
Knocks her out.
Knocks her out?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, she hits her violently in the head. I don't know if she's dead or not. I think they purposely kept it open in case they want to make the sequel.
Oh, God, please don't. And then you get your quintessential on the tarmac chase and confrontation scene.
Face-off style, baby.
Yes, in which the hero Phil has to redeem himself because he accidentally killed someone last time and now he's got to shoot
Brian,
shoot right.
You say that's so snarky, but aren't you glad at least he had an arc?
He's just exhausted at this point.
Yeah, by
Leave
that
Brian
point I was
alone.
exhausted. I was just like, really?
Oh, but
It also was too long.
And the thing is, it wasn't.
no.
It wasn't long,
How
but
can you
like
say
I
it
was,
90 minutes.
It
but
was
I was
90
exhausted
minutes.
with it by the time we were
But
done.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is that it was 90 minutes.
Well, it was like what
and it felt
it was
longer.
like a 10-minute shtick at best,
Well-
stretched into a 90-minute film.
Here's a bad sign for you, what I like to call the catch-22, where we talked about this with sequels, where if it's too close to the original, then it was it's just the same movie again. If you stray too far, it's that's not what I wanted, and that's the problem the sequels have a lot of times, where it's like maybe you shouldn't make the sequel. With this, the raunchier it gets, it's like, oh God, is this ever gonna stop? Like,
And there are some real raunchy moments
Yeah.
in it. Like Like the scene where Phil and Sandra are fucking in his office. It's just like, what the hell?
But there are very serious movies. There are moments in this movie too where people, I mean, they're riddled with jokes, but they are, they take it a little more seriously. And you're thinking the whole time, well, when do I get to like the goofy puppet humor? So, and if that is just too much in 90 minutes, then like you both fail. So maybe you shouldn't make the movie. Maybe it's a failure as a movie.
And I can see how the mixed media works in other contexts because I don't know, just it's in better hands. Like the scripts are better because I think that Who Framed Roger Rabbit totally works. We've already talked about Team America. I always almost call it Captain America, guys. I'm sorry, but like Team America, I think it works. But here it just flopped.
Well, I think that's because that the humor is a part of Roger Rabbit. Like
yes.
But the movie is there for the humor, for happy times. They wanted to make a bunch of jokes and they wrote a movie around it, where they wanted to write Roger Rabbit and then they wrote jokes into it.
Right.
This movie is there to serve the jokes.
It's true.
And the jokes are even just cheap because 95% of this humor is, this is funny because it's puppets. Yeah. Like things that we wouldn't laugh at. And we're like, oh, the crackhead? Like that's not necessarily funny, but he's a puppet.
Yeah, the crackhead puppet saying, I'll suck your dick for 50 cents. Like,
it's not just porno, it's puppet porno. But if you didn't just pee, it's puppet pee.
If you translated all of those vignettes into being humans, it would just be the crassest, stupidest, most pointless jokes ever. I mean, and they didn't fare much better with puppets, but that's what they tried to get away with.
Yeah.
I imagine that the studio possibly came in, I could be wrong about this, but they're like, well, we need to sell this, so you guys need to go as extreme as possible. Like, you already know it's going to be an R, so like throw in the raunchiest shit you can see because that's the audience we want to bring into the theater.
Right.
But can we talk about, since we kind of broke down the story, can we talk about how they got this movie into post-production and went, oh shit, we didn't film anything like a noir. We just shot it with cheap overhead garbage lighting.
The noir stuff was never picked up again.
I was going to say, did they they didn't choose to do that?
Well, no. I mean, this looks like, and Brian, we talked about this earlier, this looks like Saturday Night Live skits.
Yes.
Like, obviously way too offensive for that, but it's Studio 8H in Rockefeller Center. It's all overhead lighting because it needs to be even for TV. But noirs are harsh shadows, dim lighting, very like dynamic lightscapes, where this movie was just overhead lighting. And it's sometimes you understood it, like when the puppets are walking by themselves, like you need to key out, so you need an even light.
Here's the thing though, you can create those effects for those shots in post-production.
Right. So yeah, it was
you
just
could
cheap
do it.
looking.
It was extremely cheap looking.
Dead looking.
And honestly, this would have worked fine as a 5-minute skit on SNL.
Yeah.
Like, I'm being serious. Like this would have been fine as that. But it did not need to be a 90-minute movie. And it just, it felt lazy. The writing and performances were just terrible. I mean, I say this again. Why does Melissa McCarthy, why does Maya Rudolph, why does Joel McHale and Elizabeth Banks, why are these good actors, okay, good comedians?
Good comedian. I'd say good comedians more than good actors.
Elizabeth Banks isn't bad.
Oh no, Elizabeth Banks is fine, but Maya Rudolph is a comedic actress.
My point is, these comedians, for the most part, are pretty accomplished. They know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You would think they would have agents that would say, maybe you stay away from this one.
Well, I mean, it's a big risk because if it paid off, it would have paid off huge,
There's no way this movie could have paid off.
Well, Lane, I agree with you. I'm just going to... Every year, comedy and horror, I feel fall in the same bucket in this sense. There are 100 of each year, and there's maybe one comedy that you remember and one horror movie that you remember, and the rest are garbage. And
or just mindless noise.
And you got to roll that dice.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, though. Melissa McCarthy has no fucking excuse. Have you seen her movies? Her movies, like...
She does pick bad projects.
She picks terrible fucking movies.
That was even a headline.
Life of the Party.
Well, but...
Is that the
Central Intelligence, Ghostbusters, The boss.
Where was the one where she's the
Spy.
mom that goes
Wait,
back to
Ghostbusters
college?
Brian, I didn't know you hated women. But no, here's where
Identity thief.
he mentioned it, the life of the party.
Is that what that's
Yeah.
called? I wondered if that's what
Yeah.
that was.
Here's what I would ask you, though. Would you rather be the fourth or fifth actor as a woman, especially?
I know where you're going with
in a
this.
male-led movie where you don't get to do much except fall down and make the poopy jokes? Or would you rather be the lead actor in a more forgettable movie?
Who's also falling down and making the poopy jokes.
Right, but she's the star.
Yeah.
She's the first person on the poster.
I get that, but
Well, too,
it's a waste of her talent.
I don't think
like
anyone's
she's
going
a
to
funny
forget
person.
this movie. It's just not very good. The other thing that I do want to bring to you, gents' attention, though,
Yes.
is that there aren't a lot of leading lady roles for someone Melissa McCarthy's age either. She's 48.
and wait,
Really?
right? With that.
I don't like that about the industry, but yeah, I mean, like they're, I would say that the opportunities are less as well, which is wrong, and I hate it. I want to be clear about that. But yeah, I mean, I think mostly too, like her age, like how we used to talk about, back when TV wasn't as good as it is now and it wasn't as sought after as it is now, like that's kind of where like older actresses kind of went, because that's where they could get what they needed to, for their careers and for, their livelihood and, the money and everything. But now, I mean, it's not like that anymore, but there still aren't a lot of good film opportunities for a 48-year-old woman,
By the way, Melissa McCarthy produced this.
Melissa, what do you do?
Well, is it her production company?
It's one. She's one of the producers.
Yeah.
She's not executive, but she's one of the producers on it. So
Yeah.
there's that.
And for how talented she is, because she's proven that, like, can you name more than 2 Melissa McCarthy movies you like?
I love Bridesmaids.
Name another.
I thought she was in Hangover 2, wasn't she?
No.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was.
Okay, first off, you like Hangover 2, and secondly, you're going.
No,
that's your
not
second
2. Not
Melissa
2.
McCarthy
3.
reference.
It was 3 that she
Okay.
was in.
Okay, the third one, and that's your point of reference. See, do you guys get my point?
Yeah,
Why
I
does
know.
she keep
She was
making
in the
crappy
third
movies?
one, Brian.
She was in the third one.
She
That's what I
only
thought.
makes crappy movies.
She was in the third one.
And she makes crappy TV shows.
We
with
saw The Heat,
Pittsburgh
right? And that
Stone,
was
Billy
terrible,
Connolly.
right?
Yeah.
The Heat was terrible, wasn't it?
Right,
No,
but
he was actually okay.
the thing about her is that she makes crappy movies, but she stands out in them.
Yeah.
It's like Tom Hanks' early career. Like, Bachelor Party, that movie sucked, but Tom was good in it.
Yeah.
What about Joe versus the Volcano?
Yeah, once again, shitty movie. Tom was good in it.
Hey, but the Burbs, that's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
That's a classic.
Forgotten
film.
class. Joel Schumacher.
Yeah. But I guess my thing is just with someone who is on SNL, has had a pretty decent run of films with movies like Bridesmaids, and she was in This Is 40, which I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Why do you keep picking these movies that for the most part are just terrible? And I know you're saying she's the first person on the cover and that's it, but come on, you got to be thinking the reviews of these are not good.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think that after, I don't know, I'm not going to say Ghostbusters, but maybe after Central Intelligence or
Tammy.
Life of the Party or Tammy.
We had guys, look at Ghostbusters. That was supposed to be a hit. They were supposed to make 10 of those.
Oh,
right?
yeah. It was supposed to be
And
a slam
she
dunk.
was supposed to be the Dan Aykroyd?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that-
she's supposed to be the Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, because
She was poised to be the Dan Aykroyd, but I feel like her
Kate
character
McKinnon was
was
the Egon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, Melissa, I'm sorry.
So the film was shot. Now, I want to make very clear here. I just cut my own self off. I did not hate this movie as much as Brian did. Lane, I don't know how.
I just find anymore that when a movie just misses the mark, like I'm just so tired. It's not even like I have feelings anymore about it. Like it's just like, okay, well, this was crap too. Great.
I would give this film probably like a 5 out of 10, 6 out
You're
of 10.
being
maybe.
way too generous.
And I mean, there were for a lot of the humor, some of it hit for me. Like there were a lot of like, you guys are trying so hard and it just isn't working. But some of the jokes, hit for me, and I laughed.
I mean, the one thing I did think was funny was the peel off joke. That part, I did think that was funny. I'll be honest with you. I thought when Bubbles is describing the what peel offing is, where they take a puppet, they rip out its insides and put rice peel off, and then fuck it, until it's like a mashed potatoes. That I thought was funny.
Which is odd because I thought it needed their organs to live. But, there's no rules.
Logic.
Because fuck you, that's why.
I mean, honestly, the reason why I'm angry, okay, and why this movie pissed me off so much.
Because goddamn, bro, I left the theater and I was like, it's kind of forgettable. Had a couple of yucks. If I didn't have a podcast about this, I'd probably just forget about it the next day.
Well, here's the reason why. The reason it bugged me so much is because the initial concept, the concept of a world in which humans and puppets exist and get into adult situations, it's not a bad concept. It's actually a pretty good concept because we have seen things like Who Framed Roger Rabbit that tried the same basic thing and it worked. So my problem is not the concept, it's how they bungled the concept and fucked it up so much. That's why it makes me angry, because I'm like, this could be good if you did it right. If you did pay attention. If you want to make it a film noir, go all the way.
I was going to say, Brian, this leads us to our favorite segment on the show that I just made up right now. Will probably never be done again. How do we fix this movie?
Ooh. How do we fix it?
Okay. That we may have to do this again.
All right.
Okay. So how do we fix this movie, Joe?
All right. So I'll start off. First off, actually shoot it like a noir. Throw in some narration. I know narration's cheap, but noirs have narration, and that's a perfect opportunity to actually introduce some jokes. Don't have to just go into the gutter for your humor. Like, you can actually stage jokes. Like, you can use some outrageous humor, but you don't have to just automatically go there. And here's where those are the simple changes. But here's where I would change the movie, and I want to know what you guys think. Make the main character human and actually have the cop still on the force and Melissa McCarthy's character is the puppet.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
I like it.
Because remember, it's the humans that are at fault, right? They're the ones that look down on puppets. And now I know this is Roger Rabbit, but I mean, they copied Roger Rabbit so much. Why not just go for everything? Where he doesn't like tunes. What if he doesn't like puppets and in walks the one police officer on the force who's a puppet and like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, yeah, he's going to be impartial. Look at this guy. Like, he's going to automatically assume humans did it, and he learns. And it's the puppet that has to take the shot at the end of the movie, but it's not our main lead. It's the supporting character. And our hero is the one being held at gunpoint.
Oh, interesting take.
Yeah.
Here's how I would fix it. Okay. I would, again, make it a noir. Okay. A true noir. If you're going to go that route. I think you have to give exposition as to how this world of puppets existed. If you look at Who Framed Roger Rabbit, we know that there is a place called Toontown, in which basically that's where all tunes come from. Okay. It's a whole separate dimension. And it's explained that the tunes basically are like actors in Hollywood. And the cartoons that we're seeing are actually just like movie productions. So I think there needs to be some sort of grounding as to how did we end up with a world in which puppets and humans exist. So that's the first step. The second step, I think you need to make this less of a gross out comedy. I think it needs to be more of a noir drama in which you have puppets in adult situations. Okay. Right. Maybe you do have it where a human and a puppet are having an affair. And the puppet noir, the detective does see it. Think of adult situations that you would find in a noir film and just replace it with puppets. That's it. That concept alone is enough. Especially if the puppet is goofy. Think of that crackhead puppet that you saw. I forget the name of him. Imagine if that was like, a puppet in a situation with where it's being caught in an affair. Okay. That sort of thing, I think, would be funny, because of how absurd it is. And that's the thing, is as you said, they're trying way too hard to make the raunchy with the puppet funny, instead of just finding adult situations and adding a puppet in it and saying, this is kind of goofy. So that's how I think you fix it.
Yeah, not every joke has to be because they're puppets.
No.
Yeah, I think playing the genre harder would have been nice.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying you had to do it in black and white, though that might have been interesting. But like desaturated colors, and walking that line of like, it being true noir, but like holding back from being like ridiculous.
Or if you did like a 70s noir instead.
Ooh, that would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, I don't need like the origin story. Like I was a little bothered at like not knowing where the puppets came from. But for me, like I didn't need to know everything. Like that's fine. Puppets are a thing. That's fine. But I don't know. I would have liked like funnier jokes. That sounds so generic, but
No,
it just
it's
wasn't
not generic at all.
It just wasn't that funny to me. And I think that they played the shock value for the shock value, and that was their biggest mistake.
Yeah. Good stuff. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Cool.
Yeah, so I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Brian, I'm curious. What will you give it?
I give it a roll in the pantheon of other shit. That's what I do.
So 1? Are we gonna say 1?
No, I give it a
0
0. I give it a 0.
How many
Wow.
stars does Tiptoes have?
0.
No.
You didn't even laugh at the inbred children? The inbred puppet
That
children?
was funny. I will
In
give-
such poor taste, all of that. Loved it.
Lane?
I have never given a single movie that we've ever done a star rating.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
you're
gonna
usually
be like
the
a
star
rebel?
guy.
Yeah. I give it a thumbs down.
You have thumbs down. Cool. Well, that wraps it up with Happy Time Murders. Lane, where can they find you at on the Twitter machine?
On the Twitter universe, you can find me at LA_Croft.
John?
The Unreal Jables.
You can find me at Brian Conthouse or on the Psycho Show page. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network at epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, you want to talk to us about, puppet jizz, you can contact us at cinemapsychoshow.com. And make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. You can catch a new episode available, you heard right, every Sunday.
We're back, baby, back.
Someday you'll find it, the Muppet Jizz Show, my wiener, the Jizz Show, and me.